What's going on, y'all? Back with another video. This time, I want to talk about something that I've been thinking about. I've thought about this before, and I usually talk about this a lot at the temple here and there, but just understanding the roles that we play in society, just as people. We have a chapter called Social Duties, and it just talks about appreciation for society, appreciation for the things that people in society do for us. So what this brings me to talk about is really just that, understanding how everything in the economy, everything in society has its moving parts. And this really delves into the conversation about purpose. A lot of people travel through this life wondering, what's my purpose? What am I here for? What's the point of this? What's the point of that? A lot of the times we have those like midlife, quarter life crises. If you like 20 something, I remember brother was telling me about how we have like a quarter life crisis where you 24, 25 having a midlife crisis, and then you got your midlife crisis at 40, 50 type, that type of thing. Just these events really, it's more or less, uh you got to turn that word crisis on its head and understand that these are events and growth spurts that we're hitting mentally in our lifetime, and these are not like big bad scary things, right? So anyways, our purpose in life has many layers, and largely, at least in this video, I'm talking on the layer of the social implication of that idea. you know in society, you have electricians, you have plumbers, you have HVAC specialists, you got people that work the gas line, you have contractors and builders, and you have masons, like, actual masonry, not Freemasonry, that's something completely different, but actual masons, stone masons, actual carpenters and builders, these things. Everybody has their place in life, even with the engineers and the teachers and the professors and all of these things, even down to the people, actually, because these people are left out of the conversation, are left out of humanity a lot of the times, is the people that work in fast food chains and in fast food restaurants or in bookstores or these things, you know just stuff like that. We have authors, books, we have so many different aspects of life, so many different things within our society that we create for the enjoyment of others. We do these things for the protection and the enjoyment of others. In our Holy Quran, it says that no man lives unto himself, for every living thing is bound by cords to every other living thing. And so we come together in a social sense for the protection and for the happiness of each other, right? As human beings, we're by nature social beings. We like to come together to do things. We like to come together for a common goal. And that's the purpose of society. That's the purpose of leadership. That's what we're all doing, is putting our effort into our society. So really the first purpose that we're looking at is from an economic sense. We have an economic purpose. So don't look at your job or your business or your work or your career as just a good paying job for yourself, right? A lot of the times, maybe with super vain and narcissistic people, that's enough to motivate them to do the work necessary. But a lot of the times, we have social reasons why we do the work that we do, whether it be your wife and kids or your husband, or you want to prove to this person this, or your parents that, or whatever it may be. We have some type of reason above ourselves, or some people, they believe it's what God wants them to do, or it's the right thing to do, whatever it may be. But I want to also share this perspective on that, is that what you do with your life, what you do with your career, it really what you're doing in your present moment on a larger social scale is your contribution to your community, right? So if you're, say you're working even at a fast food restaurant and you're working in the kitchen, your contribution to your community, because you know you got regulars coming there to that restaurant, and so you in the kitchen and you're cooking up all of these burgers or chicken or fries or whatever it may be, and you're making sure that you do your best to cook this thing the best way that you can. You making sure it's clean and that you're cooking it and making sure it's all done right and everybody's order is done right, and that's your contribution to, you know, your community in that moment. And then your reward for that is that pay. What that pay allows you to do is take care of business, take care of certain responsibilities that you may have, whether it be bills. And then, you know, with the proper maintenance, this goes back to the idea of economy. Talking about economy, the whole maintenance of your money is your economy. So then what you're contributing to your own personal economy, but then you're contributing to the larger uh, state economy, or city economy, then the state economy, then the nation's economy. Everything has its micro to the macro type of ordeal, right? So everything that you're doing is for your development and for your growth, and for your unfoldment in this life, right? Things are not here to stagnate. You don't want to plateau. So many of us, we reach a level of understanding of the world and of emotional understanding and emotional maturity or emotional immaturity, and we think that that's our default setting, that we're just like that for the rest of our lives, and that's not the case. A lot of us still deal with triggers and traumas and emotional imbalance and emotional immaturity and difficulties communicating and these things that make us uncomfortable. And you're not stuck with that. You have the opportunity to face these things and change these things for the betterment, for your betterment, and for the larger betterment of your community. Because as you better yourself, then you better the people around you. It's not changing everything on the outside is going to change you or make you feel better, because you can't change the world until you change yourself. It's like that song goes, right? That's the truth. So I say all that to say, to one, establish a mindset and establish a perspective and an understanding. And the next thing that goes with that point is about understanding grace and mercy for other people. And I always talk about this, but if God is the most gracious and the most merciful, right? We say and understand he's the most beneficent, he's the most gracious, he's the most merciful, he's the most compassionate, all of these words, but we're made in God's image. So and I've talked about this before, but that image is not this body of flesh. That image is who you are, your essence, your spirit. So your soul is what's made in the image of God, and it's the image of love, the image of compassion, the image of mercy and grace and beneficence and these things, benevolence. So that is what we are made in the image of, right? And we, when you walk in that, you start to be more and more like, you know, whether the Christians say Christ like, or you're more and more like a Muslim, or you're more enlightened, or like Buddha, or like this or like that, whatever it may be, you're walking in that image of God, right? In the likeness of God, which is in the likeness of love, in the likeness of justice, in the likeness of mercy and righteousness, these things. So grace and mercy are attributes of God that we are made in the image of, right? I say all that to say that we have the ability to be gracious and merciful, right? And it's necessary to be gracious and merciful and understanding towards your fellow man, because you understand you yourself are just like them. You're a child of God who struggles with things in life, who struggles with a lower self, who's struggling with desires, passions, emotions, reactions, these things that you like, things that you dislike, things that you love, things that you hate. So, you yourself have been on time, have been off time, late, I should say. You've been late, you've been on time, you've been reliable, you've been unreliable. You got something done, you didn't get something done. You hit the due date, you missed the due date. You were there for somebody, you weren't there for somebody. And so when you are on the receiving end of all the negatives, have grace. I think I hear a deer. I hear something big over there in the wood. It'll either be a deer or a fox. Maybe sometimes a coyote. But anyways, you got to understand and remember your own imperfections. Realize that you have faults and failings and that other people do too, right? If if we try to be strict on other people's faults and failings, then we really put ourselves in a box, because now when we do those things, there's no room for grace and mercy, right? Why would somebody spare you if you don't spare somebody else, right? So we have to have grace and mercy for ourselves, yes, but also for other people when other people make mistakes. You use customer service as an example. If something is going wrong in our lives and we have to talk to customer service or have to go into the store and go into the phone store and talk to them or talk to these people, whatever it may be, we're all ready to get all up and irate and mad at this person, and say the customer service person, the rep, they do something and mess something up on your account. Now you got to be talking to customer service for 2 more hours later on another day because they messed up your account or whatever, right? And now all of the expectations and the standards, and they should have done this and they should have done that, and they should have just made a way, because it's so inconvenient for you that they just didn't make the way that they needed to make. They were just supposed to make a way, and they were supposed to do it because that's their job. Whole time you don't know the intricacies of what could be going on behind the scenes. You don't know what the system allows them to access. They just could not have the access to whatever may be on the system. You have no clue. So it takes grace, mercy, understanding, and just at the end of the day, letting it go. Some people just are mean and unnecessarily rude and impertinent and absurd. Some people are like that, right? You're gonna run into that. But the grace and the mercy in that sense is understanding. It's like the prayer of Jesus when he was on the cross. Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. You got to understand that these people they're still children of Allah, dealing with their lower self, right? And you can take a stand for what's right without being irate, emotional, or absurd yourself, right? You can enforce what is right and still be gracious and merciful towards somebody, but understand, because you have this attitude, because you're acting in this way, you've crossed this line, and so now I have to be impartial and just and enforcing, whatever the punishment or whatever the reaction may be. But have grace towards people. We get so upset and irate and emotional about everything, and it's really unnecessary. It's for what reason? It's ungrateful. It's ungrateful to always complain about everything in life and not realizing or understanding any part of what we're complaining about for real. you know you could be driving down the road and the road could be halfway blocked off because a city truck is trying to get a tree out of the road that's about to that's falling over. And so now I'm complaining and yelling and upset because traffic is slowed down, and now I'm being held up and where I'm trying to go because of this city truck trying to take this tree up out the yard. Be grateful that truck is there, and those people have been hired and they're being paid and they've been trained on how to operate that equipment, and have responded have gone out there to pull that tree up out of the road, so it wouldn't have fallen on somebody else's car, or someone else's car wouldn't have gotten hit, wouldn't have hit it and ran over it and got messed up, or so you yourself, it didn't fall on you, because now they there to cut it down so it don't fall in the road, fall on somebody's car. If it's already in the road, they're picking it up so it's not causing the issue and causing the disturbance any more than it already was. So these things, think work on thinking about things differently in society. We've gotten to this idea like we're never supposed to be inconvenienced. You're gonna be inconvenienced in life. It's okay. It's a part of life. If you think that you're not gonna be inconvenienced, or like you're not supposed to be inconvenienced, that's not realistic, because life is continuous inconveniencing. Be okay and be fine with inconveniences of life, right? Because every day is going to have some type of inconvenience. And if you have a day with absolutely no inconvenience, man, that was a wonderful day, right? But don't get upset if the next day some inconveniences come. We are continuously dealing with inconveniences, right? So anyways, this was all over the place on purpose and social people and social understanding and this thing. But it's just understanding that in a social sense, our purpose is our contribution to our community, right? If you believe in God and you believe in the prosperity of your community, and you want to see your community do well because you want to be a part of a good, thriving, fun, healthy, safe, protected community, right? Then everything that you do now is towards that common goal. And your place could just be to run a store. You're just running this store in the community, making sure the store is always clean and always running right, right? But that store could be an anchor in the community. That store could be a place where so many people go and they get their groceries and they get their coffee and they get this and that. And maybe you offer the one thing that no other store offers. And so it's a landmark in your community. Or you're the only insurance business out there that has decent premiums, and you pay out, when needed, and you're always there for your people in the community with funding or with money or with the insurance check or whatever. You're always there and understanding, and it's not difficult to get a policy with you. Or you're this phone company that doesn't charge crazy prices for the phone lines, or this or that, whatever it may be. This is everything that we do, especially in this type of economy that we have, is towards the economic growth and the economic continuation, right? In our society, you as a person become a part, you are a part of economy, and your work is economic work. If your work ceases, then that part of the economy gets depleted. If your work ceases, then that part of the economy is taken away. And if you have a big handle in the economy and then your work ceases, then you've taken out a whole bunch of the economy, right? It's economics. So it's in stages, the purpose that we have, our purpose in life. And I'm gonna make another video about this, but our purpose in life is in stages. Our economy is in stages. You have your personal economy, which is the economy of the self, right? You, economy starts before you even get any type of external resources. You have to think about the internal resources, right? Which is mind, body, and soul. Mind is the spirit. So it's like your internal resources is higher self and lower self. Higher self is virtues. That's the virtues. Those are the things that you have Those are your resources. Lower self is the body of flesh, and this is a resource as well, right? It allows us to function on this plane. It allows us to breathe here and exist here and do things and go out and get external resources, right? So we have a mental economy, right? And that's the first economy is the mental economy, right? Which is it properly being able to properly manage the resources of the mind. Then from that mental economy, we have a personable economy, right? Being able to properly maintain the resources of this self, of this self, the body self, right? You go out and you get these things and the resources of the home. You work, you get money, you maintain your business, you maintain your circadian rhythm, you maintain your health and your physical health and these things, right? You're doing these things, right? You're staying disciplined on a routine or a schedule or a rhythm or whatever it may be. And that's the economy of the self. Then you have the economy of your greater community, right? So what is your work? What is your work in the community? You own a storefront? Are you employed at a store? Are you employed at a restaurant? Do you work as an insurance agent? Do you do this? Are you an electrician? Are you a plumber? Do you do HVAC? Do you run the gas lines? That's a part of your purpose, and that's meaningful. Especially if you're good at your work, especially if you're good at your job. You have meaning in that position. If you know your job good and you're honorable and you're faithful and you're good to your clients and you're good to your coworkers and you're good to your people, you don't understand the impact that you have on your community. You have a great impact on your community, and that's a great purpose. It's meaningful. It's not without meaning. It's not without purpose. It's not without hope. This is our physical what we do economy to the greater community. Now that community, if it's a city and it's a part of a larger economy, now the city have that purpose towards the larger state economy. Then the state has a part in the larger national economy. These things. So I'm gonna make another video on purpose probably and talk about these things in different areas. So yeah, peace.